Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the probably best and only Lord of the Rings podcast on the internet, I think. I don't know if there's any other ones. I heard that people wanted to talk about Lord of the Rings, and we jumped at that opportunity.
Never
if you
been done.
hear about another one, it's probably fake news.
Oh, God.
So, welcome to Fool of a Took. We're here to talk about Chapter 2 of The Two Towers, which is called The Riders of Rohan.
I tried to read it in the bath. I mean, bath time, obviously. Yeah. The water was cold by the time I finished. It was awful.
Well, yeah, but it was worth it.
Okay.
I did it. It was worth it. I took a different path.
Do you guys have two tubs?
We do not.
Just
We have
one?
to take turns.
So you have to wait. Do you
like the
do you
hobbits.
drain the water and then refill it? And
Oh, God, yeah. No.
Of course.
None of this, like, second course soup shit.
All right.
God.
I did like this chapter a lot. It's packed with a lot of emotion. I related a lot to the characters getting defensive. I'm generally a pretty defensive person. So
There was a lot of sass in this chapter.
Yes.
I think that's why I liked it.
A lot of his eyes flashed.
Yeah, the dialogue is like on a next level, this book so far. Like 10 out of 10. Can't wait to get into that.
Yeah, he's typing with all 10 fingers.
Exactly what I meant.
He ran out of paper when he was typing. He's using that fruit by the foot.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
It's just like ticker tape.
Yeah.
Like the old stock machine.
Yeah.
It's like the world's longest fortune. Like in a fortune cookie.
Oh, my
my
God. That's
God.
exactly what it is.
Honestly,
17,000 words.
honestly, if Tolkien did fortune cookies, it would be like unrolling a scroll. Like, you just keep going and going and going.
Tolkien cookies.
Yes.
I didn't get that when you said it. I thought you were just dumb.
In the first chapter of The Two Towers, Aragorn found Boromir mortally wounded after he failed to save Merry and Pippin, who were kidnapped by orcs. Shortly after, Boromir died, with Aragorn by his side. Legolas, Gimli, and Aragorn did not have time for a proper burial, but they put Boromir in a boat and sent it down the river. When they finished grieving, Aragorn decided they should follow the orcs in the hope of rescuing Merry and Pippin.
An interesting thing about this chapter is that the stakes are readjusted, right? Because previously it was all about getting to Rivendell.
Right.
To for whatever purpose. This is the whole mission. Just get to Rivendell with this dangerous thing, and then the rest will take care of itself. Turns out that was not how it was going to go. Now Frodo's taking care of the rest. But every step of the way, it's been a very existential, the world is ending type thing, but they never see that. Mm-hmm. But now it's Merry and Pippin are going to be tortured to death if we don't save them.
Yeah.
And that is like...
Tangible.
Right. It's personal. It's the kind of thing that haunts you in your sleep if you don't do it. So he made the choice and washed his hands of the Fellowship. He said, the Fellowship has done has played its part. It's over now. It's in the ring bearer's hands. I don't know that the quest will succeed, but I know that if we don't save Merry and Pippin, they will be murdered in the most horrible way.
Yeah.
And so that's the choice they make.
So it's like the only thing he feels he has some control over.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, there's
That's
so
why.
much suspense in this.
Yeah.
Well, suddenly the fate of every hobbit is now in doubt, right? We don't know what's happening with Frodo and Sam. We fear what's happening to Merry and Pippin. Boromir's gone. Gandalf is gone. This chapter is all about the choices that Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli make. They're in a race against time. They are hunting rather than being hunted for the first time in this narrative, right?
Yeah.
So now they are chasing after their friends, and they're going to save them if they can find them. The orcs have a considerable head start. They had to take time to see Boromir off. They had to take time to figure it out. They said, up, we're going, and they started running west, and they did not stop. And that's where the chapter opens. They've been running through these highlands all day, all through Emyn Muil, all through these hills, this like rocky, godforsaken country. Just before dawn, they pause and they regroup and they try to figure out like what's going to happen. And they look around. They're following these line of hills like north and south, but west of them is Rohan, is like these flat open lands. They have to figure out where these fucking orcs are going to go because the trail vanishes. And so they have a quick discussion. Do you think they're going to go north? Directly towards Isengard or Fanghorn, the forest? Or do you think they're going to go south towards the Entwash, the river, And they realize that, like, no, they're going beeline, or thank Isengard, Fanghorn. That's the direction they're going. They head north, and they find 5 orc corpses. And it's kind of a riddle. They don't really know what happened, but they piece it together, and the general assumption is that no man or elf did this to them. This was orcs fighting orcs. Whatever this war party is, evil is not monolithic. Evil is factional. It's fractious. There's orcs from the northern Misty Mountains. There's orcs from Isengard. There's orcs from Mordor. They're just from everywhere. And they don't get along. They don't. And they can't even last a day and a half without murdering each other. So that's good news, right?
Suppose.
As a reader, that's the first
killing
thing of
each
good
other.
news. Yeah.
It's great.
Doing our work for
Yeah.
us.
Well, you know what? If they had enough time, it would solve itself. But they don't. Because as we know, the world is on a timer and it's on Sauron's clock. So dawn of the second day, finally. And they look around and they're on this hilltop and they see this like beautiful metaphor happening. It's like this red dawn in the east over the shoulders of the dark lands, because they can see Mordor more or less from where they are. Like, they know if they stare due east, they're staring at Mordor. It's a bad, fucked up looking place. And from 300 miles away, you know that. But then the sun clears that and they look west and suddenly the shadows melt away and the color returns. They are in a world where spring is just starting to show itself. Like, there's green. It's beautiful. Aragorn is stunned because he looks south and he sees the White Mountains, which are one of the mountain ranges in Middle-earth, but it basically defines one of the borders of Gondor. And he's like, that's it. That's Gondor. Fuck, that is it. And he sings a little song and it's very nice. What they're standing on as they see these sights is what's called the East Wall of Rohan. It's essentially a line of hills that drops into a cliff, a sheer cliff, as it faces the lands of the Rohirrim. And Legolas is looking around and he sees an eagle. No one else can see this fucking bird, but he sees it. And he remarks on it and everyone's like, that's cool, I think. But what else? And he goes, oh, shit, there's people moving on the plain below us about 12 leagues off, which is 36 miles.
He's like, you guys see those people 36 miles over there? Everybody's like, what the fuck, dude?
Right.
Legolas.
That was really funny.
And so Aragorn...
No, I don't see that shit.
Right. Well, that is a recurring theme of the chapter, is Legolas sees something and points it out to everybody, and everybody else goes, I'm going to have to take your word for that.
You see that
You could be
eagle?
lying to me.
There's a nice
Yeah.
eagle up there. Everybody's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yo, eagle, sick tattoos, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
Go birds.
well done.
Just had to.
Perfect. And then Aragorn's like, all right, let's go. And they go north and west, because that's the direction the trail goes. That's the direction these figures are in. That is the opposite direction of everything they've been doing to this point. They're going north, away from Gondor. They're going west, away from Mordor, away from Frodo in the Ring, away from the quest. And they go. And they get down the cliff face and they get down into Rohan proper. And it is a sea of green. You know, that bright, vivid spring green when the world is like coming back from winter.
Yeah.
It's here. It's in Rohan. And Legolas is like, that green smell, that is much better than night's sleep.
This is a weird thing to say. You guys smell that green?
You can smell green.
You can
Like-
smell green.
Is that like when you mow a lawn?
Right. Well, that's a stress hormone, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Wait, what?
Yeah.
when you mow the
What
lawn,
do
you
you
know
mean?
that smell of the
Yeah.
like fresh mown lawn? That is the equivalent
That's the
of
grass
plants
screaming.
screaming.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I love that smell.
Oh my god.
I love the smell of
so
napalm in the
metal.
morning.
I guess that makes me a little messed up, but you know. I also like gasoline.
Cool.
Love smelling gasoline.
Wow.
You know my favorite smell, right? It's a tie of old books and Scholastic Book Fair plastic books.
Classic book fair. Like, oh my God.
Like, I wish that was a
Good old
candle,
days.
as sick as that sounds, to just be burning plastic. But it's like, I used to get so excited when I came to the school, and I would be like, putting my face in all the books. Like, I just
Aw.
loved it so
My
much.
mom would give me a blank check. She'd say, you have $10. You can spend on whatever you want. And I would be like, do you have Captain Underpants?
Yeah, right? Like,
Dave Pilkey's amazing. Yeah.
and Legolas looks around and he's like, that green smell. Like, this is much better than sleep. well, fuck you. Other people have to sleep. But with that, they fucking take off. They're like hounds on a scent because now they can see them. It's 36 miles away, but they kind of just did that in an overnight run, like through the highlands up and down over rocky hills. I think they can sprint over open ground. In the course of this chase, off across the open ground, they find some tracks that lead off to one side. And they determine that because it's small, unshoed feet, it's clearly Pippin, who like ran away from this column of orcs and then pitched his elven brooch into the grass as a message to say like, I'm here, this is me. And that's what they surmise when they find the brooch in the grass. So they're very happy that at least Pippin was alive at some point. Yeah. And even Gimli's like, man, I hope he didn't pay too hard for that one. But now they know that at least one of them was alive at this moment. By sunset, they've gone about 36 miles. And it's like February, so like maybe that's maybe like 10 hours less. And now they're presented with the sun is going down. Do we rest? Knowing that the orcs will not rest. Because if they were running in the daylight, which harms them, they don't like it, they're going to take advantage of night and they're just going to keep fucking going. So do the hunters stop and rest and maybe miss these signs, maybe miss an escape attempt, maybe miss tracks that they would otherwise see in the daylight? Gimli says, maybe we should stop. Legolas says, in my heart, I know if we stop, bad shit's going to happen. And they both agree that Aragorn must choose. And so Aragorn is like, well, I really have not made a right choice yet, but let's take a nap. We'll take a rest.
Anything to not make a decision.
Yep.
Just teasing. That's a decision, though. Yeah. I know, but it's
he made the decision to put the decision off. Yeah, which is a decision he's great at making. He's done it several times already. Like instead of going to Gondor, going to Rohan. But whatever. It's a moonless night. The stars are dimmed, and Gimli's like, if we had Frodo's light, like Galadriel had given him, this would be great. We could see in the dark. And Aragorn kind of like quips back, Frodo's going to need that way the fuck more than we are. And also, we should be doing what we're doing because we can no longer impact for good or evil the quest and the ring. And maybe that was a vain pursuit from the beginning. Now it's being stated explicitly by Aragorn that maybe this was all hopeless to begin with, and the most they can hope to do, the most positive impact they can hope to have at this point, is just to rescue Merry and Pippin. So they sleep, and what we get is dawn on the third day. Aragorn wakes up. Gimli is passed the fuck out. And Legolas is awake. And he's staring west and north. And he's with sadness. He's like, they are far, far away. And Aragorn's like, yeah, well, wake up, Gimli. And then Gimli's contribution to the conversation afterwards is, well, maybe things will look better in the daytime. Maybe you will see things. And Aragorn says, well, when sight fails, hearing may give us something. And we'll listen to what the earth has to say. And he throws himself on the ground and does like the ear to the ground listening thing. And he stays there for a while, and maybe he takes another nap. They're not really clear. And when he finally stands up, he looks bad. He's troubled. He doesn't like what he's hearing. He says, the rumor of the earth is dim and confused, but there are horsemen headed north. So I guess we'll just keep going. We'll fucking go. And the only thing that keeps them running, because again, they set off at this pace, they're going to cover another 36 miles for the third consecutive day, carrying, like, this is not them running a marathon. They're in armor. They have weapons. They have camping gear. Gimli's got a giant fucking book. Yeah. And also a pocket full of hair, but whatever. And like, they are just booking it over open country. And also, something that they don't mention in this is that while it is not enemy territory, it's not entirely friendly. So every step of the way, they have to be aware of, are they going to be ambushed? Are they going to be attacked? So in the midst of all this, like, very physical work, this very mental work, this stress of it all, the trail starts to fade away. And the sun is going down. And the moon it's like a new moon. It's a sickle moon, but it's very, very dim. And the stars are almost not visible. And Aragorn is really upset because they're seeing nothing. They're not getting moonlight. They're not getting starlight. They haven't seen or heard a single living thing except for what they were tracking and that fucking eagle, apparently. It is an ominous silence. And it's everywhere.
Like there should be
There's-
wildlife and
people. There's supposed to be people in this part of Rohan. Not many, but they're supposed to be there. There's so many things wrong right now. And Aragorn takes a breath and he's starting to catalog all of them in his mind. And they stop and they regroup again. And Legolas just says, I don't think that I think when we rested, we lost them. I think they're too far ahead. I think they've already made it to the forest. I think they're in Fanghorn Forest already. And the implication being once they get in there, who the fuck knows where they're at, where they're going, or what's going to happen. Gimli thinks that, well, fuck, that is a bitter end to their hope and all their toils. And Aragorn looks at him and says, yeah, maybe that's the end of hope, but it's not the end of the work. Let's go. But this is all fucking weird, right? And they all have a quick powwow. And yeah, it's all fucking weird. And they come to the conclusion that it must be Saruman doing something because we should not be this tired. I'm a ranger. I could see them. I should be filled with nothing but the desire to pursue. We shouldn't be slowing down. Something is hurting us and helping them, and I goddamn bet it's Saruman. Because this is almost his backyard. And so they rest for the night. Dawn comes, and they set off again. And then by about noon, they find their first real sign of the orcs, other than the trail itself. They find a big clearing that's been trampled, where the orcs have clearly rested. Aragorn says it's 36 hours old. They're a day and a half behind. They're kind of running out of hope, right? They're a day and a half behind. They've been chasing them for days at this point. And when this started, the orcs only had a half a day lead, remember? Because the orcs snatched Merry and Pippin and then took off.
Right.
Yeah.
Then the Fellowship found Boromir, put him on his boat, and sent him to Valhalla, to the Anduin. And that was only about a half a day. So the lead has been getting longer.
they're on day 4 at this point.
Right. It is bad news. But the decision is, well, let's fucking get on with it. It's not over till it's over. And we'll find what we find. They are dead on their legs, except Legolas, who again is elves apparently can sleepwalk. Like literally they can be resting and asleep with their eyes open, fully engaged with the world around them and moving through. And they just enter this like peaceful trance. And it's as good as sleeping. And between that and Lembas, Legolas is as good as he's ever been. He's not actually exerting himself. He's slowing down for everyone.
What a wild concept too.
Right?
I hate it.
Elves
It's
are
so creepy.
Yeah, I think it said his eyes were unclosed.
right.
Right?
Unclosed eyes clearly implies not open eyes, but something slightly off and different and weird.
Yeah.
Right? Like
I
it's
just imagine his eyes pointing in different directions as he's
Yeah.
walking.
His eyes like roll back in his head. He's like cross-eyed. There's like I just had the most cartoon image of Legolas. Just his eyes like
just like one eye closed, and the other one like slightly unfocused. Like a chameleon like separately tracking things.
his eyeballs are just going 2 different directions.
Mouth open.
Oh, lots of legs.
That was such a weird visual, and now I can't get it out of my head.
Yeah, I was reading it going,
He was like, "Come on, guys, follow me."
Well, like, and now whenever everyone is going, has he been asleep every time I've talked to him?
oh my God, no wonder he was so quiet during the fellowship.
Literally slept through it.
The whole book.
He's like, fuck this. Wake me up when we get there.
I woke up and then he's like, a Balrog.
That's why he was so scared. In the morning, he woke up and he went, "Ah!"
Where the fuck am I?
Can you imagine? Like you're awake when you leave Rivendell. You wake up and you're in a mountain pass, and it's like, yo, fuck off! I'm gonna find the sun. Peace. And then the next time you regain consciousness, it's a Balrog.
Yeah. Oh, terrible.
Sorry to interrupt my pants.
No, that's
Good old
funny.
Legolas.
That's funny as fuck.
Good old keen eyes.
Just she done.
She's good at that.
She look.
She's got the face.
She's power napping.
Yeah.
That's what you can do whenever his stories get too boring. Just
my
your
God.
eyes slowly start to close.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I meant. I'll be doing that.
It came to mind for you.
Hi.
Asshole.
So Legolas is on a power nap.
Anyway, so, like, everyone else is fucking gassed. Gimli is bowed over, and they're really only moving at a walk. And Aragorn is quiet and withdrawn, and he knows it's bad too. they climb a hill at dusk because Legolas is like, let's climb this fucking hill. We'll see what's up. And you don't have to be Legolas with amazing eyes to look around and go, fuck, we are in a empty landscape. There's nothing moving. We don't see anything. We don't see the orcs. We don't see shit. It is a gray and empty and formless world. Legolas looks around and he says, we don't know what tomorrow brings. The sun brings its own red, its own advice. And Gimli says, well, you know, the sun's had 3 chances to give us anything and it's done fuck all. So let's just go to bed. And they do. Yeah. They lay down and they have a real shitty night's rest. And dawn comes again and they're standing on this fucking hill and they look north and they see the tail end of the Misty Mountains. The mountains where in the north they were in Rivendell. And then further south, they tried to cross at Caradhras. And then further south of that, they actually crossed through Moria. This thing continues for hundreds of miles south. And now they're seeing the tail end of it.
That must be disheartening after traveling so far away from it.
Right. To circle back.
Yeah.
To almost be going back
like
over the mountains.
When you like pat, you're like, this, we've been here before.
And the only other thing they see is the Entwash. The river that they weren't supposed to go up or go near because, you know, don't go to Fanghorn. It's a weird and terrible place. But lo and behold, they all see something. They see riders. There's people moving on the plain. Legolas puts his elf eyes on it. It's like, it's about 105 guys, tall, blonde guys. They got some nice spears. The lead guy's a little taller than everybody else. He's got some freckles, and their horses are not looking good. They got bad teeth.
43 of them have brown eyes.
Yeah, it's like he gives us like
62 of them have blue eyes.
And Aragorn is like, yeah, well, you know, man, elf eyes are crazy. And Legolas is like, whatever. They're only 15 miles away. It's not that far. Do you have glasses? Oh my God. And what they see is that these riders are coming back down the orc trail. And so the decision is made that they will wait for the riders to come to them. And so they put their weird elf cloaks on and they become more or less invisible. They look like little rocks. They sit at the bottom of this hill and they wait for this column of armored horsemen to come past them. And they've already had the discussion of like, what the fuck is going to happen when they get here? Because nobody knows what's going on in Rohan. Remember, in the Council of Elrond, it was claimed that these guys are giving horses and paying tribute to Sauron himself. And there's orcs running through the lands of the Rohirrim. They don't know what to expect. They haven't met anybody from Rohan yet to know what the fuck is actually happening. But what we know about them from this conversation is that they are descended not from Númenóreans like Boromir and Aragorn and even the Dúnedain. They're from an entirely different group of men. They're more in line with, they're called the Bardlings and the Bjornlings. So you have this line of people, they're not Númenóreans. These are, like, they're not affiliated with the Northern Kingdom of Arnor even, the Dúnedain, the Fallen Kingdoms, all that shit. These are just different peoples altogether. They are different, but they are proud without being cruel, and they're generous and hardworking and kind people, but also they're illiterate. They sing songs rather than write books. They value freedom and their land and their independence more than anything else. And they follow traditions that are older than Gondor.
Sounds a lot like Pennsylvania.
They're very tribal.
Yeah, they're basically like, they're like sort of almost
Quakers.
like a Viking culture.
No, they're more
Viking.
No, Quakers are non-violent. The Rohirrim are
Very
all
violent.
violence.
Yeah.
So the Amish.
Yeah, if you've never...
Nothing makes sense with them, but they're crushing it. So you don't fuck with those people.
If you've never seen a video of an Amish barn raising, look it up.
Yeah.
Look at the time lapse of that shit. It's nuts.
They're
It
using
is something out of
1700s
time.
tools. They put a house up that's beating modern day Union Code standards in like 12 hours. And
Right.
you're like, I don't understand how this is possible.
Nuts. If you want to see where people came from and where industry comes from, look that shit up. It's very cool.
So you don't
They
mess
do
with them.
use some modern technology.
They do. But like,
There's a lot of. I've worked with them.
There's
There's a lot of.
there's a lot of nuance, a lot of subtlety. There's degrees of being Amish. All these things are true, but by and large, they do some amazing shit by hand. It's
true.
And that's, I think, the point.
They do have great markets. So their produce is next
fuck.
level.
The Amish markets are so
Shoe
good.
fly pie.
A very good baker.
Their kids go for
and
a
the
lot
butchers.
of money too.
Stop.
So the Rohan are the Amish. No, I'm just kidding. They're actually Vikings. They're Vikings.
They're Amish Vikings, so you got to imagine the big black hats, but also like axes. Because they both love horses. So this column of these riders comes down, and their
all name is Ezekiel.
scores of riders. Scores of riders come by.
And Hamish. I gotta ask Hamish what we're doing here.
Well, So again, what's happening is as this column of armored warriors, I mean, dozens, scores of warriors, thunders by, and Aragorn like pops up and is like, "Hey, what's up?" And like without breaking stride or anything, they just like circle up and do this like really threatening like rodeo dance with them until Legolas, Gimli, and Aragorn are in the middle of a sea of spears and horses, and like everybody's ready to kill them.
They're not going to die this early.
So,
That's what Boromir said.
Oh,
goddamn!
shit.
Fuck. Well, he made it farther than Harry did.
Oh, R.I.P.
He wasn't an
He made it
adventurer.
further than Gandalf did. Made it further than Bill the Pony did.
Okay, just stop.
Okay, I'll stop being sad. So, guys, this is our introduction
We
to
do
the...
it in memoriam.
Yes. Oh my God! Can we please?
Wait, Grace.
Sarah McLachlan. Sarah McLachlan in the back.
Before
In the eye.
Put a pin in it. That sounds great. We'll come back to this.
After Boromir dies, and
Yes, please.
it's like every character that has perished or been written off since the start.
Raise you up on eagle's wings.
Oh my God.
It's like a terrible character of the drawing that you go, ha ha.
Or like, but it has to be all played on kazoo. So in this moment, we are introduced to the Riders of Rohan, the Rohirrim. We've learned a little bit about them, but really, this is an interesting moment in the book for us as readers because we know of elves and we know about elves and we know elves personally. Dwarves, not as much. Hobbits, yes, absolutely. But the other tribes of men, the other kingdoms of men, who have we really met? We met Butterbur, we met Boromir, we met Aragorn. We've met very few human beings, and it's all been very, very close. And we've gotten it's more about who they are rather than who their people are and how big the world is. We're being introduced to a whole fucking corner of the world that we've only been told exists. And it's violent.
And it is threatening.
And it is. And it starts with this, the tall leader that Legolas eyed from fucking 15 miles away or whatever it was, comes up and he says to Aragorn, "Who the fuck are you?" And Aragorn looks that man in the eye and says, "I'm Strider." Okay. What are you, like some kind of elf? How did we not see you? He says, "No, we're not elves, but we did pass through Lorien." And so basically what this leader of the Rohirrim says is, so you came from Lorien though? So you're from that place of deceit and horror and lies and magic? And at this point, Gimli decides to introduce himself. And, hello,
he does.
sir. Hello, Horse Lord. I am Gimli.
Excuse me, fuckhead.
Hi. My name is Gimli, and I will fucking cut you.
Yeah.
And the Horse Lord looks at him and says, "Well, you know what? If your head was a little higher off the ground, I could reach it to cut it all the way off." And Legolas, in the blink of an eye, has an arrow on his bow and pointed at this dude's face and says, "You will die before that happens."
This is so badass.
Yeah.
Right? It goes from 0 to 60 so fast that I don't think Aragorn has time to clock anything that's happening because his very next line is, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's not do this."
Yeah.
But like before we get on a formal first name basis, whom do you serve? Which is kind of a rude question when a stranger comes up into your backyard.
Typically, the stranger introduces himself first.
Right. Yeah. So typically the stranger would introduce themselves first, but I'll do you one solid because you're some kind of fucking weirdo. I am Éomer, 3rd Marshal of the Riddermark. I serve Theoden, King of Rohan, and no one else. You can fuck all the way off with that shit. Why are you here? And Aragorn does the very reasonable thing of draws another weapon. And he draws his sword and he screams, "Elendil!" And I am Aragorn, son of Arathorn, called Elisar, the Elfstone. I am Dunedain. I am the heir of Isildur, Elendil's son of Gondor. This is the blade that was broken. It has been reforged. Who the fuck are you?
And this is like a legendary blade.
Yes.
Like even these bardsmen and Bjormen,
They've heard the
they're
stories.
aware of
Absolutely.
Anduril.
Absolutely they are.
Okay.
Yeah. So
So this is like fucking really means something. When he pulls his sword out, it's not as a threat of war. It's as a look at my...
it is like, behold.
Yeah.
Because again, remember, this was reforged with runes of power, with a scabbard that means the blade will never break again. What happened before cannot happen again.
Yeah.
It is a wild moment, and Gimli and Legolas both clock this and like, whoa, who the fuck is this guy? This is no longer Strider. This is no longer Aragorn. This is Isildur's heir. And Éomer looks around. He says, it's fucking legit. So, what doom do you bring from the north? And Aragorn says, I bring the doom of choice. Because want it or not, you are at war, and you must choose to fight with Sauron or against him. This war is coming to you. Tell your king, tell Theoden. I have met him before, but he needs reminding.
Yeah.
Let him know that the world is coming for him, whether he likes it or not. But what about our friends? We're here we're tracking these orcs for a reason. They abducted our friends. What can you tell us? And Éomer responds with, they're all dead. What? The orcs are all dead. We killed all the orcs. We found nothing but orcs. We didn't find anything that was not an orc. So, you didn't find like a small child-sized thing, like a little guy, maybe dwarf size? Halfling. You would know them as a halfling. And the riders start laughing because they treat halflings like leprechauns. It's like this magical little thing that comes around. It's like, these aren't fucking real. What is this? You're not friends with a halfling. And then they all take a second and they realize like, nah, weird things are happening right now. So maybe this is legit. But Éomer says, no, we found nothing but orcs. It is nothing but bones and blood and burned ash up there. That's all we left. But everybody fuck off. Get back on the road. I'm going to talk to these guys. Because Éomer's guys have started getting a little sassy. So in quick order, Éomer gives them a real info dump on what the actual situation in Rohan is. Because the first thing that happens is Aragorn tells them, like, yeah, we came on a journey, on a quest. Not going to tell you about it right now, but we came with Gandalf the Grey. And that name means something in Rohan. But it's maybe not a good name to be associated with right now because the last time he was in town, he really kind of upset Theoden, maybe stole the best horse in the country and left. And even though the horse came back, now no one can get anywhere near it.
Came back different.
He came back changed.
It's in love with Gandalf.
He's grieving.
He met a real man.
Yeah. Doesn't want these local town folk.
Right.
Want that city boy.
But Éomer says, like, the king's council is in disarray. I know we are at war. You are preaching to the choir, man. But the king's council doesn't know that. There's people spilling poison into the ear of Theoden, telling him that Sauron is our friend, Saruman is our friend. Nothing happening outside our borders is our business. But Saruman has said that this is his land now. He's claiming Rohan for himself. He's claiming dominion over us, and that's horseshit, and we won't take it. I'm here to fight against the orders of the king because I will not permit this. And he's third marshal of the Riddermark. And what that means is he's like a general of generals. Like that's where he is in the pecking order. He's the third most important guy in Rohan. And he's out here doing his own shit. So that means Rohan is in trouble. They're at war and they are internally divided. None of this is good news, right? Absolutely fucking none of it. But Éomer says, come to the court. Come to the king. You are the heir of Isildur. That means something. We know this. Come fucking tell Theoden yourself. Like, bring this news to him. And Aragorn says, pass. I'm good. We got to find our friends. And you can either stop me, you try to stop me, or I'm going. Your choice. And Éomer gets a little butthurt because he's like, I'm just doing my job, man. No, I'm not supposed to let strangers wander around. But I'll tell you what. I'll give you 3 horses if you promise to come back when you're done. Just promise me that, and maybe I won't get, murdered for doing this. Deal. The riders fuck off. Now, suddenly, 3 hunters have horses. Gimli is not super jazzed about that. Gimli is about as happy on a horse as Sam was in a boat, which, again, he related to wild horses, so that's a funny little turnaround. So they take these 3 horses, and they go to the site of the ambush and the orc massacre. And what they are looking for is any sign of Merry and Pippin at all. What they find and what they come across is a curl of smoke from a smoldering pile of bodies. A heap of weapons and trophies and armor and a mound which is a grave for the 15 Rohirrim warriors who died in this fight.
Yeah.
And that's it. They look around. They're literally on the edge of the forest. Gimli looks around and Gimli says, clearly, the only place they could be is the bottom of that pile of corpses and bones and ash. That's it. This is the end. And the only thing that tells them anything different might have happened than them being at the bottom of that pile of fucking corpses is what Éomer had said to them just before they left. That nothing got out. Aragorn took a second and was like, well, they were very small and they're sneaky and they were also wearing the same elf cloaks we were and you guys basically walked past us in broad daylight. So are you sure? And Éomer looks at him and says, yeah, I don't know, maybe. Good luck. And so this is what they have to work with, is nothing. Yeah. Because even if the hobbits escape, they don't know where they are or what direction they went. Aragorn can find no trace of anything escaping. Gimli says, like, well, this is fucked. They shouldn't have been here. Even Elrond said they shouldn't have been here. This sucks. To which I think Legolas responds, yeah, but Gandalf wanted them here. And Gimli hits back with, yeah, and look what that got Gandalf.
Yeah. His foresight.
Right. His foresight failed him. Gandalf is also dead.
Damn, dog.
I know, right? Like,
Oh, God, bring that up.
Gimli's had a bad time and he's being a realist. But think about this from Gimli's perspective for a quick second. He was expecting to find his family in a reforged kingdom under a mountain, and instead they found a literal devil that killed the most powerful force for good that they've ever known. So, yeah, for him to come full circle on that whole thing is not unsurprising. So here they are in the eaves of Fanghorn, on the edge of the forest, with all of this weighing on them, and Gimli says, fuck it. I don't care what it brings out of the woods. I don't care what comes out of the plains at me. I want a fucking fire. Because, you know, maybe Merry and Pippin will see it if they're not at the bottom of this charred pile of corpses, which I know they are. And Aragorn freaks out. He's like, don't cut anything. Don't touch the fucking trees in Fanghorn. We've been over this. Celeborn even told us, don't fucking come here. And he says, it's fine. There's enough deadwood. I can grab it for whatever. So Gimli busies himself building a little fire and having a good time. Aragorn throws himself against a tree and just kind of relaxes and ruminates on the fact that they failed the friends and that the choice they made may have led to a lot more death than he expected. And Legolas is like, have you ever seen a cat when it's just staring at something you can't see?
Yeah.
Legolas is just staring into the woods. And he is like, he looks like he's listening for something or to something. He is staring at the, quote, profound shadows of the forest. Legolas is having a bad time.
Communing with the spirits in the kitchen.
Right. And he's just like, something is bad out there, and Legolas is directly attuned to it. Gimli is inviting it with fire, and Aragorn is just checked out.
Okay.
So they draw lots for who's going to watch. I would have picked the asshole who doesn't need to sleep, Legolas, the whole time.
Yeah.
It's not like he's going to sleep anyway.
Guys, we're 400 pages in. We've known Legolas for at least 100 pages. This is the first time that anybody's gotten a hint that, like, maybe he doesn't need to sleep. Maybe every time someone else has stayed up for 2.5 hours in the middle of the fucking night and ruined their sleep, it could have been Legolas daydreaming.
Yep.
Yeah.
So anyway, they draw lots, and Gimli gets first watch. So it's Gimli and the fire, and he's sharpening his axe blade, and there's nothing else, no sound except the leaves and the trees moving. And so he's alone on the edge of this haunted fucking forest. And one of the things that Éomer shared with them was that one of the biggest problems of Saruman, who was a friend of the Rohirrim, turning on them, is that now they have an evil wizard next door. If you've ever had a bad neighbor, you get this, because a shitty neighbor is different than a bad neighbor.
Yes.
And when somebody next door to you means you harm, it's only worse when they're one of the most gifted sorcerers on earth. Saruman likes to go out in a cloak and a hood and just kind of fuck with things.
He's a voyeur.
I didn't say that, and that's not the way this goes.
No.
That's the problem, right? You suddenly have an evil wizard living next door, and one of the things he does is he fucks with everything in his reach. We've seen it. Everyone's aware of it. So when Gimli looks up from the fire, he sees an old man just kind of staring at him, just with a big hat and a staff and a big cloak. And he sees this old man facing the fire. And he kind of gives a little scream, like, you know, when you see a snake. And suddenly Aragorn and Legolas are both awake. And Aragorn is like, hey, old man, would you like to come join the fire? Like, what can I do for you, father? Like, come in from the cold. And then the guy's gone. He's just not there anymore. Which would be cool, except Legolas points out that also the horses are missing.
Again.
And they're just like, who the fuck was that? What the fuck was that? Gimli's like, that was clearly Saruman. He stole our fucking horses. Now we got nothing. Now we're going to walk. And you know what we can't do? I can't eat my feet. You can eat a horse.
Oh my God. Fuck you, Gimli.
And Aragorn says, you know, that's it. Maybe that was Saruman. But, you know, Éomer said he wears a hood, not a hat. I don't know if that makes a difference. But, like, either way, they're all fucked up. And they've got this fire. And they're on the edge of this haunted-ass forest. And their friends might be dead. And there's a pile of smoking corpses. And that's how they spend the night. Nothing happens. The old man doesn't come back. The horses don't come back. Nothing. That's how the chapter ends.
Dang, dude. I gotta say, this is a jam-packed chapter with 1,000 things that happened. It was basically a mix of the Council of Elrond, because there was a lore dump, but also like the old forest where there was like mystique and like action happening and, you know, potential peril. I feel like it was just so much. It was almost overwhelming. Even when I was taking notes, I had to restrict myself because I was like, I mean, there's 29 pages of this chapter left. Like,
It
in
felt
the book,
kind of like a montage to me.
Yeah.
It's like an entire day took one paragraph.
Yep.
A small paragraph.
It's a fucked up chapter from a timing perspective. And as far as storytelling goes, it's a different pace than everything else has been. And I think it really reinforces the idea that these are the three hunters. They are driven, they are chasing, and they end up on the eaves of a forest being hunted by old men and trees.
And they're finally alone, so they can just be themselves. They can work on their level. And we get to finally see them in their prime. Yeah. And then you get to see like Legolas sleepwalking, and you get to see Aragorn listening to the ground and communing with nature, really being a ranger, and Gimli just being a fucking
being a fuck.
No, but being a badass dwarf of like he will just keep stepping on his 2 feet, and he will just keep going. He'll complain the whole way, but he is very strong, and he can do a lot more work than people give him credit for.
Yeah. Did anybody else think it was kind of a dig when I think it was Aragorn said, "Light feet may run swiftly here"? He was trying to say like, oh yeah, we can run faster than the orcs because they're wearing like iron shoes. But I was thinking like, does Gimli really have light feet?
No.
Right.
Gimli's legs are half as long and his pack is twice as large.
His giant axe, his tome.
Like, is that a dig at
He's
Gimli?
weighed down, literally and figuratively.
He's the guy who should have been most excited about horses.
I know, right?
I think he was also including himself in that, meaning like Legolas will do better than Gimli and I. If Legolas wasn't there and it was just Aragorn and Gimli, I think it would be a bit of a dig at Gimli. But the fact that like you have somebody who's like, when he walks, the grass doesn't even bend.
And he walks on
And I think he's kind of like, yeah, like, you know.
Well, I think he was comparing them to the orcs.
It reminds me of like when you're working out with your friends and one of them is clearly in way better shape than the other. And you're sort of like, well, yeah, I mean, you know, if so-and-so does this, it's you're going to do better than us.
If I was Gimli, I would have thought about that for hours. I love that. Probably not.
And you reach in your pocket for your fistful of hair and like...
Just like rub the hair in your fingers.
You're like, what an asshole. And then you're like,
Yeah, it's your coping
And
mechanism.
like Legolas just puts his like arm around his back and like looks at him
Oh,
as
man.
he's like fingering the hair.
I know that unfortunately, due to time, we just had to move through the chapter and you had to skip a lot of things, which probably, as you've said, brought you physical pain to not bring up.
I could see it in his face.
You wanted to. What everyone on the podcast doesn't see is between every sentence Pat says, it's me going, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. And I cut those out. But one of the first things that really stood out to me was Aragorn sort of sings this song when he has this sort of like relinquishing moment of like he sees Gondor, he sees like, you know,
the White Mountains, and all.
Mountains, and he just goes into a song. They bring up the silver tree in the song. Having not actually been to Gondor yet in the story, I was confused at the mention of a silver tree. It's brought up, I think, twice, maybe even
Twice.
3 times, but twice.
It's twice.
He brings up the silver tree, and it's interesting because I'm sitting there going, "What the heck is a silver tree?" And maybe it's the bark. Maybe in Gondor, there's actually a tree that's like magical or something that's left over from the elves. I don't know, and I know that it's not something that we can explain because we haven't gone there yet. But that got my brain going quickly because until then, I have not actually cared about going to Gondor. It's just sort of been like, sure.
Connected to Boromir.
One of the places you're going. Got it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And also the fact that it's associated with Boromir kind of made me like, meh.
Yeah.
I don't really know how I feel about it.
The only person less interested in going to Gondor than you is Aragorn.
Yeah. But it's interesting because he still like sang this song, right? And he it's kind of a sad song.
It's like part of his kingdom, right?
Yeah, and he's like, I would long to see it. And then he's like, oh well, alas, I must do other things. And he turns and he does this thing. The second thing about that's pretty interesting is right after that, they're kind of like moving on. They see this eagle above, and they use a word for the trail that they're running along. And they said that the trail is basically running along the escarpment. And I was just, every now and then one of these chapters has a word that I've legitimately never heard in my entire life. And I was curious, 1, has anyone heard that word before? And 2, if you have, what does it mean?
It was definitely in a Bare Naked Ladies song.
Really?
They rhymed it with apartment. He's out on the escarpment.
Oh yeah! Fuck yeah!
Yes.
Dude, Bare Naked Ladies are awesome in every context.
That being said, I don't know the definition.
So a bare naked lady,
Canada.
No, an escarpment is like it's like a natural barrier almost. So it's just a piece, like it's an elevation change. It's a dividing line. It's a long hill.
Okay.
Is kind of the way to think about it. Without being a mound, it's like if the elevation were to go down. The reason it's important in that context is because like the east wall of Rohan is that cliff face and all this other stuff. You get in the extreme east of the east fold, the east of the Rohan, of the lands of the Rohirrim. It's all hills and bullshit. And then once you get past that, it turns into these beautiful grasslands where they raise all their horses.
Yeah.
But to get there, you have to go past the, quote, east wall of Rohan, which is, again, a geographical feature.
So it's not an actual wall.
It's not a wall.
Okay.
It's a metaphorical wall.
Yeah.
In that no one built it, but also it keeps horses in place. I don't know.
Got it.
Yeah.
And the other thing is silver trees, because you brought that up, and it's so important to note that we are hearing about it now. This is a symbol of Gondor.
The silver tree.
The silver tree. It's going to be tied to Gondor. So it's going to come up again later, and we're going to learn more about it. But for right now, it's just sort of hey, you're being introduced to a new idea.
Got it.
Okay.
The other thing that really stood out to me was, while we're on the topic of song, is that Legolas has a song that we don't get to participate in that song. He says he sings it to himself.
Yeah.
The narrator just sort of says Legolas sings to himself, which is
In his
funny.
own tongue.
Yeah, and he sings to himself in his own tongue. He's doing his thing. He's walking around. And he sings, and as Aragorn and Gimli are sleeping, he's sort of walking and pacing around them, singing a song. And above them, the sky is starting to clear up. The mist is drifting away from them. The stars are starting to be more apparent, and they sort of, like, the world starts to, like, right itself above them as he's singing. And that made me wonder, is this the song? Is this elven magic? Is he singing? Is he doing like an enchantment through his song maybe? Is this something at a deeper level? And if so, why the fuck did you wait 3 nights to do this?
Is he pulling a Goldberry?
Because it might be like our Lord of the Rings campaign game where you can only do a song of inspiration if you have enough inspiration tokens. And so he had to build them up, defending his friends and actually not sleepwalking the whole time.
He had to start his turn adjacent to one of the other heroes.
And also, someone in his square was at 0, so he finally could do the song.
It was Gimli. Gimli was at 0 fucks.
You can't refill your friend's cup until your own is
For
full.
our listeners and watchers that don't play this game, it's an amazing game. It's
Journeys to Middle Earth.
Journeys to Middle Earth. Look it up.
All Tolkien fans should be playing Journeys to Middle
Play
Earth.
it.
By the way, you
We-
just need an iPad and about $112.
And 4 friends.
And 4
3
friends.
times.
4 friends
Any
is
friends.
perfect.
Any friends.
Yeah.
The computer can simulate friends, but real friends are better.
Yeah. But that's what happened.
Does anybody else have a real answer?
To what? About the singing and all?
Yeah. What am I correct in assuming that his sort of singing was clearing? Because the following morning's the red dawn, and they wake up
Wolverines! Sorry.
The following morning, suddenly the weather's great, and there's
Right.
no mist, and they can see very far. And I think, okay, well, let's deduce this. Let's Sherlock Holmes this. Feels like a magical enchantment, some sort of thing going on with the elves. And why did he wait till night 3, leading into almost day 4?
Okay, so one, the fact that you're picking up on all that is great because we've established previously that
That he
elves
sucks.
are inherent. Yeah, one, Legolas. 2, elves are inherently magic in a way that we would understand it. He's probably been sleepwalking on and off since Rivendell.
Yeah.
He only woke up like 4 times, and 2 of them were this chapter.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that we know that music and words have power.
Yeah.
And we know that Saruman has been fucking with the stars and obscuring them, fucking with the moon, making things darker, helping the orcs and hurting them. So like all of these things are possibilities that are suggested but not like dealt with head on.
Yeah.
The fact that Legolas just doing what an elf does and that being magical ties us all the way back into everything that Sam thinks magic is, right? And all those discussions. An elf does things that elves do.
You were talking about words, that we're not familiar with, and on that page was another word I had not seen before. Legolas says, "Tomorrow is unknown. Reed oft is found at the rising of the sun." And I go, "Reed." It's REDE. And I was like, "What is that?" So I looked it up, and it means like advice or interpreting, like of a riddle, which is kind of interesting.
Which is funny because doesn't Gimli bring the word riddle up?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, repeatedly.
It's interesting.
Everything is a riddle to
Yeah,
him.
That's true.
Yeah.
But it made me wonder, like, if you say, like, I need to get a read on the situation, is it maybe really meant to be more that
Like, I
word
need to
than
figure
Have we
out
all
the
been
riddle?
spelling it wrong as ignorant
It
Americans?
could be. Or
Oh my
maybe that's
God.
just where the phrase came from.
Somebody was like, red day.
Red day.
No, they spelled
red
it
day.
wrong.
Yeah, it's like to interpret the situation.
Yeah, get the read of the room. It's actually
Yeah.
RADE, not.
It could be.
Oh my God.
That's fucking
It makes a
wild.
little more sense that way.
Definitely.
I hadn't considered.
Spelling it that way from
now
here
on.
on out. Yeah.
There it is.
Just so you guys know.
Yep. Okay.
So one of the things that really popped into my head was this sort of reminder. As the riders approach them, I am reminded that a Númenorian man, a Mirkwood elf, and a dwarf are walking together. And how odd that must be for people to see. You sort of forget because you're sort of like numb to it. You know, we've been around. This is the fellowship. This is just
normal
what
now.
we know. This is normal. This is, but it's like, oh no, this is not normal. This is
Sounds
not.
like the introduction to a bad joke.
Yeah, like, you know, what was it, a priest, a rabbi, a fucking whatever walking to a bar?
Yeah.
It's like, that's what's going on here. And I forgot that, like, okay, the Rohirrim men, they're riding up to them. We're about to have this whole exchange with the Arrowred riders and Arrowmer and Aerothine and or Aothine and however you say all these names. They're crazy people. But it's like, oh yeah, wait a minute. This is like a weird like joke of a trio. Like it feels like a slapstick comedy. Well, I think
Yeah.
the last time I thought about like, oh, like the mixing of like races was probably like Brie.
Yeah. And like one of the first times an outsider is coming across them and
Yeah.
being like, huh?
Yeah. Well, exactly. Exactly.
The only other time that happened was when Gimli was allowed into Lothlorien.
Right.
Everything else took secondary consideration of that because everyone else understood what the ring was, and they were like, nothing about this situation is weird because the one ring is involved. But yeah, no, these are people. They're normal people, and they look around and the legends and myths are walking in their front yard.
Yeah.
And they have a conversation about it actually. And what it ends up being is like Éomer he doesn't know what the fucking thing is. What does a man do when dwarves and elves and halflings and leprechauns and dragons and shit, when that's all suddenly real in one afternoon right in front of me? What the fuck kind of decision do I make? And Aragorn tells me, you make the same kind of decision you would have made yesterday.
Yeah.
Because you trust your judgment. But also, we are not in the time of legend. We only do what we can do. Legend comes afterwards when people tell the tales of what we did today.
Right.
Yes, I love that line. I love that line so much. But it's a really interesting introduction to Éomer, who, son of Éomund, third Marshal of Riddermark.
He's the fucking man, and we actually need to remember him.
Yeah. Right off the bat, he's willing to listen.
Yes. I love that you said that because one of my favorite lines of this, and there's some incredible dialogue. This is like a masterclass in how to write dialogue for characters in this chapter. But one of my favorite ones is he says, I would gladly learn better. And that's off of, when Gimli gets so upset that they're talking shit on Lady Galadriel. Many things occur and they're starting to get to know each other. And then finally, he's like, I spoke only, as do all men in my land, about Lady Galadriel, and I would gladly learn better.
Éomer's the fucking man.
Yes.
Yeah.
When Aragorn started telling the story of where they came from and they went to Lothlorien and all these crazy things happened, he said, do we walk in legends or on the green earth in the daylight?
Yeah, and that was the thing about like legends are what comes after.
Yeah.
But not only that, it also says that line that I think maybe Aragorn says, I don't know, and I'm not from the page open, but he basically says that the green earth is even more incredible than any legend that could be. It's more powerful and magical. And it just sets up once again and reinforces this whole theme of nature versus industry. And I just love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to wrap that up, like the other really funny moment is when Aragorn is in mid-sentence like, yeah, by the way, and we came from Lothlorien and the Lady of the Golden Wood, by the way, you need to learn better before you open your mouth again. And then continues with his story. And Éomer's like, yes, I do. You are correct.
Yeah. He's this powerful, badass third marshal.
The third marshal.
He's a warlord, and he's like, you know what? I can learn. I can grow. Please make me better. Fall in love with him in that moment. Can't wait for this character to continue in the story. It's such great writing.
Because he is doing what's right. He sets himself up and he sets the story up to be like, in a kingdom in chaos and beset on west and east, former allies turning on them, the king is in chaos. There is no official response to what's happening. So he's taking his personal little army out to go and do what good he can. And that means eradicating this column of orcs.
Yeah.
And it also sets up this really interesting moment where in chapter 2 of the Two Towers, we're introduced to the Two Towers.
I love that.
Because there's a lot of towers, right? Minas Tirith is the Tower of Guard. Barad-dûr is the Dark Tower. Are those the two towers? They're not. They're opposed. Éomer introduces the third tower and ties them together because Orthanc is the Tower of Saruman. Is
That's where
at
Gandalf was on
Isengard.
top of.
Yes.
Yes. And Barad-dûr in Mordor.
Okay.
Sauron and Saruman are together.
Right.
And these two towers are united in evil purpose. And these kingdoms are physically trapped between these two evil forces. Isengard in the west, who was their friend, has betrayed them. Shortly after Gandalf visited them and stole Shadowfax, Gandalf showed up to say, everything is fucked. Saruman is not your friend. I need the best horse in the kingdom, peace. And then immediately, orcs, wolf riders, evil men, Saruman himself, all this evil shit started pouring out of Isengard.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Rohan was at war.
Yeah.
Which they had been trying to
With
avoid.
everyone.
With everyone, east and west. A two-front war is not what you want.
Speaking of Aragorn, I had a question. There was a line where Legolas sees... it's actually when Aragorn is sort of like, he pulls out Elendil and he pulls a sword out and he's sort of like, wow, this is who I am. And Legolas sees like a faint hint of like a glowing crown upon Aragorn's head.
So I love that you're paying attention to that because yes, like elves do pay attention to things that the normal eye cannot see. Just say it like kind of like simply in like at least in my interpretation of this. And also remember the Song of Gondor. Not only was there a civil tree, there was a crown mentioned and a throne.
It's a literal thing that Legolas sees. It's not a metaphor. This is not the first time something like that has happened. Like we've seen eyes flashing, we've seen lights, we've seen as readers things that are not apparent to everyone.
We've seen creepy old men, you know. Crouch around the dark. Come here, father, and they just disappear.
Stealing your horses.
Another thing that came up that was really weird from Éomer was that he was like, "What's your name?" And Aragorn was like, "Strider," and he was like, "No, we're gonna change that. Strider's no good for you here. I'm gonna call you Wingfoot." Two things about that. One, it's really interesting that this person thinks that they can just take a stranger who has already made themselves very clearly known to everyone that you are royalty. I think that I have
a better idea.
I have the better idea. I'm going to change your name and I'm just going to use Wingfoot. It's the first thing that popped in my fucking head after I heard that you ran.
But also he has
130
names,
miles
at
and 40.
least.
He's
got a million names.
No, but you already introduced him as two different names.
He's Strider. He's Aragorn, son of Arathorn.
Elisar,
the Elfstone, Dunedain,
So
son
he's
of
just adding to the
Elendil.
list.
Right.
Yeah, and he was like, I shall call you Wingfoot.
Right. The important thing that this does is that this reinforces to us that what they've done in the distance they've traveled and then the time they've done it in is fucking amazing to the people who live there and ride horses. And they're like, you did that shit on foot? That is unheard of.
Yeah.
I just thought that was so funny. Wingfoot, you ran 45 leagues in 4 days. I'm going to call you Wingfoot. And the fellowship was like, I mean,
It's not the first time.
we already have names.
But Gimli's
We
looking at
don't
all-
need new ones.
Gimli's looking at everyone going, all right, you're that tall blonde bitch. Like, because all of them are blonde.
Speaking of Éomer being kind of rude, did anybody think it was like really disrespectful of him to insist that they abandon their quest to save their friend's life to go and come fight a war for me?
It was like a
join
side
my
quest in a
army.
video game.
Yeah. It was like,
please,
do you want to leave
you
this
need
to
to
go
save
do
my
something
son?
else?
And you're like, I'm supposed to go get to the princess. And they're like, you gotta save my son.
I'm trying to save these defenseless hobbits. And he's like, but it would be more important for you to come fight this war
Yeah.
for us. Just forget about them.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
I think just because of the world they live in his mind, those halflings that he didn't even know existed until 30 seconds ago are already dead.
They're still fairy tale
no,
characters.
they're already dead.
Oh, that
and so
too.
he's like, I have real people, women, and children that are in between two horrific evils, the two terrible towers. Please come help me. You just traveled all this way, and you've been doing these amazing things. You are the king that is going to come. Like, please come save my people. Like, I don't blame him, honestly.
Yeah,
it does
I
come off
guess.
as selfish, but like,
Yeah.
if you needed a Hail Mary, like, you would ask.
Well, yeah,
That's
he
true.
also
That's
he
true.
says to them, like, you need to bring these horses back to the seat of Theoden. You need to come back to see the king when you're done whatever you're going to do, because they might kill me if you don't. Like, this might be my life versus your
Yeah.
promise.
And we also
Because-
have a new place.
yes.
We have a new location added to our map. Our map is, if you ever played a video game and you explore a new region and the fog disappears from the video game map, we had that happen where Éomer says, please return to Meduseld, which is the building,
Okay.
Yep.
the high house,
Yep.
in the town of Edoras, which is a town where Theoden now sits when you finish your quest. Right? So he says that line like, hey, and it's like kind of like shitty to be like, I know you said you have this thing to do that's really fucking important to you, but if you could help us out, that'd be great.
Éomer is making a very reasonable request from his point of view, which is the law says strangers must go visit the king before they're allowed to pass. I understand that you're the heir of Gondor. This is an important politically and militarily meeting that you need to come to. You need to do this. This has to happen for my country in crisis. And Aragorn says, fuck that, fuck you. I'm here for my friends. And if I have time, I'll come back. And if you want to stop me, I will cut you.
Yeah.
And it even though the fellowship is broken, these bonds of loyalty are not.
Yeah.
Aragorn, on a personal level, recognizes the people around him and is willing to do things that require personal valor, that require tough choices, and require bravery. These are all the
now.
qualities of kings.
He does have friends now. He didn't have friends before.
He does have friends now. He found them all the way in Bree.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, Chris, you talked about interesting parts of the map opening up, and something
Chris
that
loves maps.
Chris, fucking maps. The thing that we've learned is that Fanghorn is this like haunted ass forest that not even Celeborn, who's one of like the high elven lords, who's according to his wife, who's one of the most powerful elves in the world, is the wisest man in the world. He says, do not go into this woods. Even to elves, this is a secret and dangerous and weird place. Just don't fuck with it.
I have a question.
What?
You keep saying Fanghorn. There's no H in the book.
Yeah.
It's spelled Fangorn.
Yeah.
Is that like from the movie, or like why do you keep saying Fanghorn?
I think it's because I watched too many Looney Tunes, and you remember the big chicken, Foghorn Leghorn?
Foghorn Leghorn.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I think it just stuck.
It's your Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah. It's
Lohan, Rohan.
Yeah.
Rohan.
The Riders of Rohan.
They wear
Could you
pink on
imagine her
Fridays.
riding up on a
What is it, Wednesdays?
On Wednesdays we wear pink.
On Wednesdays they wear pink. On Wednesdays they wear pink. Because Mean Girls is the movie of our generation.
Never seen it.
What? The fuck?
That's our second movie review.
I've never seen
No,
it.
really haven't.
Bonus
Okay, we got to talk
Okay,
about
we're
it.
watching it. We're watching it.
So we've established that Chris is an uncultured swine, and we're going to fix you, buddy. But in the meantime, another thing that we have to touch on is that we are introduced to the word Ent. We have the Ent Wash, which is a river that they were told to avoid because it leads to Fanghorn, which they were also told to avoid. Which, yes, dear. So then they march to the ease of Fangorn, and at night, before the old man shows up, Aragorn and Legolas have this real quick exchange where they're like, yeah, Celeborn told us not to go into the woods, but I'm not really sure why. Do you know what's weird about Fanghorn, Aragorn? And Aragorn says, you know what? I was going to ask you the same question, because if a wood elf doesn't know shit about the woods, what would I know? But he knows three things. One, Fangorn and the old forest back in the by the Barrow Downs, back with Tom Bombadil. Those are two strongholds of a forest that covered Middle-earth from the elder days. These are ancient forests, even unto elves. Creatures that have lived 3,000 years consider these woods to be ancient. And Fangorn has Ents. We don't know what those are yet, but they have Ents. And the other thing is that the forest's full of secrets, and nobody really knows. The wood is maybe malevolent, but powerful. And that's what they're left with.
So one really crazy thing I want to bring up is, as you know, I read this 20 years ago. I had no fucking recollection of the creepy old man at the end of this chapter.
Really?
Oh, that's cool.
I was shocked. I know that, you know, the Rohirrim brought up that Saruman was dressing like an old man, was kind of hinting towards this. This happened. I was on the edge of my seat. I was like, oh my God. Gimli
like new for you?
Gimli sees an old man with a hat, and I thought, Gandalf? Wait, no, he's dead.
Tom?
And then I thought, no, that's exactly what I thought. I said,
Is it really?
Tom Bombadil. I was like, I don't remember him in the second book. Oh my God. I got so excited. And then Aragorn's like, father, which I was like, creepy. You just really call him daddy.
Oh, daddy.
Arathorn? Was it like an apparition of Arathorn?
Patronus.
But they all saw it.
But not like that. It's like he immediately goes to his dad and then invites him to the fire to get warm. I'm like,
I was
oh.
like, do you want to go get a glass of wine?
I'm like, so he clearly has some daddy issues. Good to have that be revealed in the second book.
Father.
Because if I saw a weird, creepy man in a hat and a cloak in the corner staring at Gimli, I would not be like, come to the fire, get warm. I'd be like, who the fuck are you? Get the fuck out. Legolas, do your crazy elven song shit.
Make him go away.
Make him go away.
Do you know who it is?
I had no memory of this.
Do you know who it is?
Oh, you just turned into Gandalf. I have no
I do not remember this place.
I have no memory of this.
I don't. I was in the dark. I was literally doing a journey in the dark.
You had a full Gandalf 360
That's
moment.
amazing.
Where
I
you were
love that
reading
for
this
you.
and going,
Right?
and you put the book down and you went, I have no memory of
And
this.
at the end of the chapter, and it goes, the old man didn't return, the horses didn't return, nothing happened. And I was like,
That's the end? I'm on the edge of my seat to start the next chapter.
It was like one thing we didn't touch on was that the trees were leaning over the fire to like rub their branches together and be like,
Yeah.
ooh,
Yeah, that was
fire.
creepy.
The trees were drawn to the fire, which is a weird concept.
Maybe they were
Typically not a thing
cold,
trees
or-
would do.
Because Gimli says, oh, they like the
Flammable
fire.
beings.
And Legolas and Aragorn are very silent, and they're probably thinking to themselves, they do not fucking like
I
this
don't
fire.
think they do.
Wait, Pat, do you know who the figure is? The old man?
No, I'm illiterate.
Okay.
Why would
Chris,
Pat
who
not
do you
know
think
who
it
it
is?
is? Of course
I'm
he knows
assuming
who it is.
Pat
What the
does,
fuck?
but RJ forgot about it, so who knows? Who do you think it is, Chris?
Okay, this is crazy, right?
Bill Fernie.
Oh.
You guys are not gonna like this.
Okay.
It's Fatty Bulger. He's still dressed in other people's clothes.
He's wearing Gandalf's hat? Oh my God.
Oh, no.
You need a microphone.
I don't need to scream laugh into a microphone, but okay.
I want to hear it.
Get into your mug instead.
He's still following them in other people's clothes. And he
And
was
he can magically
not
disappear.
expecting to be seen.
Fuck.
And now he's been seen as Fatty Bulger.
I was really hoping you'd have the first spit take.
Yeah.
Well, Laura, who
No, I
did
did
you
that.
think it was?
Well, like, I was trying to figure it out, and they kind of made a comment that excludes Saruman. Probably not him, because the hat instead of
right.
the hood. And I was like, okay, well, like, could it be a vision of Gandalf? And then thinking of other, like, wizardy people, the only other person I could think of would be Radagast, because he's all into, you know, creatures of the wood and protecting animals and all that.
And that's a very important observation because the world is big and we're in the beginning of book 2, we don't know how big the world is and everything that's in it. And that's an important acknowledgement.
So the last thing I thought when the horses got let loose was maybe, you know, is there a story reason for this in the next chapter? Are they going to like stumble upon something that they wouldn't have seen if they were riding quickly on horses? So maybe, I don't know. That was my guess as to what's going to happen in the next chapter.
It's a good guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who knows? They didn't really explain it back in Bree when they let the horses go last time. So maybe they might imply it the way they did before. Maybe we'll see.
I don't know, but every time we bring up Brie, I keep thinking of cheese because I'm hungry. So how about some food for thought?
Yes, please.
Food for thought. Bree for thought.
So it's not cheese.
There is no brie here.
What do we got here?
Unfortunately, not cheese. So the only thing that occurred to me food-wise this episode was when they introduced the Riders of Rohan, and they had this gorgeous yellow hair. And I was
course.
like, blondies.
Yes.
So in front of us are some blondies.
Horse cookies.
Did I not say?
Pat suggested I make horse cookies, but then we couldn't have eaten them.
No, we can. We can.
You just got to buy the meat at Aldi's.
Oh, God.
For those unfamiliar, they were in a lawsuit several years back for selling hamburgers that were actually made out of horse meat instead of cow meat.
And then the other joke is that horse cookies are things you feed horses.
They're horse treats.
Not, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to make horse
Christopher.
treats for everyone, but you know.
Yeah.
I'm thankful
might not
it's
have tasted
blondies.
good.
Oh, totally. That's what I meant.
So, Laura, what do we have here?
Our blondies are made of brown butter, brown sugar, flour. We've got some white chocolate, some semi-sweet chocolate, dark chocolate, and pecans.
Ooh.
And some sea salt.
That sounds amazing.
So
So for the people that are listening, I'm staring at a brownie that's not the right color.
it's a blondie.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Debatable.
I know, right? Like it doesn't look like anything.
It's a brownie that people forgot some of the ingredients.
If somebody
That being said, it looks fucking delicious.
Yeah, let's eat it.
I can't wait to try it.
I also think these plates are absolutely beautiful.
Thanks. They're
Yeah, they're fine china.
These are
They're tea
Yeah.
fine.
No.
tea saucers.
Look, I looked on the map. I couldn't find China. So I don't know what
They're like-
China's-
it's near Herod.
I think they're more
Or maybe
so
it's
like
Farhat.
fine.
Let me get the stick.
Edoras or whatever it's called.
Nope,
No,
Christopher.
they're like saucers
It
for a
is-
tea set.
Yes, they're saucers.
China is somewhere to this direction.
Oh my god.
Ah, it's near hard.
No, it's far Herod.
I'm going to try my blondie.
This is delicious. Oh
I told you I'd end up hitting him. I'm not a fan of white chocolate chips, Laura, but this is fucking awesome.
Why, thank you.
Well, they're not quite a fan of you either.
Well, fuck them. The fact that there's brown sugar, Ghirardelli chocolate, and like toasted pecans in this shit. Mm-hmm. Like, so
They're kind of addictive.
I already ate mine.
is the only difference between this and a brownie like cocoa powder?
I think so, yeah.
This has been a wonderful episode. I feel like the Two Towers is kicking off into a very dramatic, intense world, and I'm here for it. I'm excited for it. I'm nervous for it. I have anxiety. Like every fucking chapter, something terrible and something beautiful happens. And we'll see what happens in chapter 3. Oh, shit. Chapter 3. What's chapter 3 called?
The Urukai.
The Urukai.
Urukai. Yo, get the fuck ready. We are in the War of the Ring.
Dun, 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 dun.
Bum, 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 bum.
He can't not do it.
You guys. Amazing.
I'm so excited. Thanks for tuning in. This is Full of a Took. We are here to make the Lord of the Rings a little bit more digestible for everybody out there. And I hope you enjoyed yourself. I'm Christopher.
I'm Laura.
I'm Robbie Jean.
I am drunk.
And we are Full of a Took. We'll see you next week. Take care.